Law number 5, living in accordance with nature. What does it mean, living in accordance with nature for you, Robert?
That we are living within the natural order of the universe. I think it involves embracing change, because I think the only constant in the universe is change. And I think that everything that's in accordance with nature is change. And I think we need to live more in harmony from an ethical point of view and a sustainable point of view. In that when we're living more in accordance with nature, we're actually living more in accordance with who we are as human beings from a stripped down biological versions of the creatures in which we are.
Was that a shroom experience you had recently?
Not only that, like from my diving deep into that realm, but I think it's also more we're a living being, and that everything that around us is a living being. I think it's really hard to see that when you're living in a city like London.
Yeah.
Because everything's built up.
Yeah.
And it's big and it's massive and it's fucking
fast,
loud, and there's sirens and tubes and buildings, and it's so away from like peace and sunshine and rain and cloud, like, and everything that is our natural environment.
Yeah, I was talking with my girlfriend yesterday, and I was like, imagine how crazy it is that we wake up in the morning, and, well, me, for example, I work in an office, and I like my job. It's a cool job, I really do. But I'm just thinking how crazy it is that we wake up, we go to some place, we sit down, we just literally work for like 8 hours, go back home on the tube, done, evening, eat, sleep, and then we do it all over again. Like, well, I mean, in the evening you go gym, and
like you're doing all of that, and you're
doing that,
and you're like hurling through space on a rock into nothing.
Yeah.
But what I mean by living in accordance with nature is living more in accordance with the environment which we need to become more intertwined with. I feel we're a race and a culture that is disconnected from an environment across the board. And I feel...
Shout out to Graham Hancock.
Yeah, and I feel we are not... I think there can be too much of everything, and even if I go back home in Oxford where there's a bit more greenery, a bit more countryside, I feel less stressed. I feel the energy. I feel 100%. Things feel different for me. And don't get me wrong, I love living in a city. I love the hustle and bustle. I think it's amazing. I think there's a diversity of culture and food and just everything that makes this place great, and I love it. But at the same time, I can't help but wanting to get away from it as well, because it's a lot of energy in one place that can be too much and not feel very like spiritually kind of helping myself. I'm with you 100%. Do you know what I mean? It just feels like I'm not kind of even just putting your feet on the ground, like barefoot on the earth. There's you have like a static charge within the human, and just by doing that grounds you into the earth, and that can release that charge within your body. And there's just, that's so important. And when you're kind of walking around in rubber shoes and you're not even connected to the earth, like you just don't feel connected. And as creatures, we need to have that connection with nature. And like that's not saying it from like a hippie point of view of like, oh, you need to go roll around in the grass.
No, 100%, man.
It's more, it's being like listening to, like when you listen to the chirping of a bird in the morning, like everyone has some connection with that.
Yeah.
Where it kind of decreases your stress.
Yeah.
You know?
I remember I was, I think it was a year ago or a couple of years ago, I went to Norwich to visit my mate, and we did some shrooms in this forest. And mate, I'm not gonna lie, it felt like everything was just one. But we were walking in that forest to us, but like we can see that the whole forest ecosystem just works as one.
Yeah.
And it just felt beautiful, man. It was. I think that's why we are so disengaged from the nature, because, as you said, we live in those big buildings.
We're not taught to engage with it.
Exactly.
We're sometimes taught that it's scary, in that, like, it's this dangerous place to kind of interact with. You're not, like, in school, I was never taught about engaging more with the surroundings of nature.
Yeah.
And it's quite hard in the UK. Like, we don't have these big adventurous landscapes as you would do in other parts of the world, like America or Canada or South America, where you've got like huge rainforests and in the UK it's more like kind of, and also bits of Europe as well. But I do love the fact that we are an island here, because I think there is this connectedness with the ocean and being that.
Yeah, definitely.
And I still think you can have these positive interactions with nature around you, in reminding you that this is your environment, and we are a smaller cog in a wider breathing planet.
Yeah, they're always saying that northern people are a bit more chill than the rest.
100%.
Yeah, and but when you see, they look, I would like, they have a lot more nature where they live. Like, if you would go up, like, if you talk about Scotland, they have fields of just vast wilderness.
Yeah, like you can drive 2 hours out of London.
Yeah,
and like, we did an event 2 hours away. It was like by the sea, Bournemouth.
Love.
And just, you go to I was just going to Tesco's or something, just like picking up some, like,
people are different there.
Yeah, man. People are like, oh, hi, how are you? How's your day?
Yeah.
And like, you just think, damn, you don't get this here. And I think, is that because people are just slower?
Yeah.
People maybe taking things a bit more chill. They're by the sea. It's not so intense. And you can see that people just take time with things. It's not this rush.
We did, my friend and I, we did this Norfolk coast path. If anyone doesn't know, there's a path from near Great Yarmouth to all the way by the coast. You can walk for like 140 kilometers. It's like 4-day trek. But we did my friend did the whole thing at one point, and a couple months ago, just literally that was the last hot weekend, we decided to go for a night camping, and we just walked for like 30-40 kilometers. And during that coast path, you walk across little villages, little towns, and people in those towns are just the friendliest. I think I always loved English culture, but like, when you go into these towns, you see the real English culture. They just old men sitting in a pub talking. It's just beautiful. Like, he's just so chill, and everyone is so nice. And I think because they live literally by the sea, they just, as you say, living in accordance with nature.
Yeah, which brings us to the next law.
Law 6.
Approach life as a banquet.
Banquet, yeah.